It started on an ordinary night, too ordinary, in fact. The kind where silence settles too deeply, and the shadows in the corners of the room seem just a little too still. My phone vibrated once, the sound sharp against the quiet. I glanced at the screen, expecting the usual notifications, but when I saw the name flashing on my phone, my breath caught in my throat. It was them, my best friend, the one who had been dead for over a year. At first, my mind scrambled for explanations. It had to be some kind of sick joke, a hacker, a scam, a glitch in an old messaging system. I hesitated, staring at the message without opening it, half expecting my phone to correct itself, to erase the impossible. But it didn't. The message sat there, waiting. The words were simple. "Hey, you there?" A chill crawled up my spine. It was too casual, too normal for something so completely impossible. My fingers trembled as I tapped the screen, opening the chat. The last message before this one was over a year old. Our final conversation, frozen in time, just days before the accident. I didn't respond. Instead, I stared at the screen, pulse pounding in my ears. Maybe someone had stolen their phone before the burial. Maybe their number had been reassigned. That had to be it. But then another message appeared. "I miss you. Do you still think about me?" I nearly dropped the phone. The air in the room felt heavier, like something unseen had settled beside me, watching. I swallowed hard and typed a response, my fingers unsteady. "Who is this?" The reply was instant. "You know who." My stomach twisted. It sounded like them. It felt like them. But that was impossible. I wanted to believe I was imagining things, that I was overreacting. But then, the next message came. "Remember what you told me that night, the night before everything happened?" My breath hitched. My vision blurred for a second, my mind racing back to that night. A conversation we'd had, just the two of us, before everything fell apart. I'd never told anyone else. There was no way anyone else could have known. A cold dread pooled in my stomach. My hands felt numb as I typed, "This isn't funny." The three little dots appeared, showing they were typing. I waited, heartbeat hammering, my entire body rigid with fear. And then the message came through. "I'm not laughing." The room suddenly felt too small, too dark. The walls seemed to press in on me, the glow of my phone screen the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. It was them. Somehow, impossibly, it was them. And that's when the texts changed. At first it was small things, memories, unfinished conversations, tiny details only we would know. But soon the messages took a turn. They started talking about things that hadn't happened yet. And then one night, I got a message that changed everything. "Tomorrow something bad is going to happen. Be careful." I didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. At first, I convinced myself it was a coincidence. The message had been vague. Tomorrow, something bad is going to happen. It could mean anything. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, the weight of grief twisting random events into something sinister. But then the next day arrived, and something bad did happen. I was walking home from work, my phone clutched tightly in my hand, my thoughts tangled with unease. I had checked my messages 100 times, hoping for some kind of follow-up, an explanation, an apology, anything. But there was nothing, just silence. Then just as I reached the corner near my apartment, my phone buzzed. "Stop walking." I froze, and at that exact moment, a car tore through the intersection at full speed, its tires screeching as it missed me by inches. Had I taken just one more step, I wouldn't have been here to read the next message. "You're welcome." My knees nearly buckled, My breath came in ragged gasps. This wasn't just a prank. It wasn't a coincidence. Whoever or whatever was texting me knew things. They had saved my life. But how? And more importantly, why? I wanted to run. I wanted to block the number, throw my phone into the river and pretend none of this was happening. But fear and curiosity were at war inside me, and in the end, curiosity won. I texted back, "How did you know that would happen?" The response came almost instantly. "I see things now. I know things you don't." A pit formed in my stomach. What things? Things about you. My breath hitched. The messages started coming faster now. "I know you've been lying to yourself. I know what you did that night. I know who you shouldn't trust." A shiver ran down my spine. The room felt colder, like an invisible presence was pressing in around me. I hesitated before typing out the next question. Who shouldn't I trust? Silence. For too long. The three dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, then finally, "Check your front door." A sharp knock rang out. I jerked back, my heart slamming against my ribs. I crept toward the peephole, my breath coming in shallow gasps. The hallway light flickered, casting long shadows against the walls. Slowly I leaned forward and looked through. Nothing, no one was there. I exhaled, a shaky, relieved laugh slipping from my lips. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe... My phone buzzed again. I glanced at the screen, one new message. "I saw you looking, but I wasn't in front of the door. I was behind you." The air in the room shifted. A breath, not mine, stirred the hairs on the back of my neck. I turned, and the lights went out. The darkness swallowed the room whole. It was so complete, so unnerving, that for a moment I couldn't move. My senses seemed to have dulled, everything reduced to the faint hum of silence and the erratic beating of my heart. My phone screen glowed dimly in my trembling hands, but the messages kept coming, relentless, cold. "You didn't listen?" I blinked, trying to make sense of the words, but they didn't make sense. How could they know? My body felt frozen, trapped between the logic of the world I once knew and the creeping horror of something far worse than reality. I fumbled with the light switch, but nothing happened. The room remained in total blackness. My thumb hovered over the screen, hesitating for just a moment before I typed, "What do you want from me?" The reply came almost immediately. "I'm not the one who wanted this. You should have listened." A chill swept over me as the words echoed in my mind. You should have listened. It was too familiar, too much like something I should have already known. I felt the weight of those words press down on me, threatening to suffocate me. There was something I was missing, some detail I was too blind to see, something far darker than what I could have imagined. I glanced around, disoriented. The shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally, and there was a heaviness in the air that made my skin crawl. Every creak of the floorboard, every rustle of the curtains felt like an ominous omen. Something was here, and it wasn't my friend. "I'm not the one who died." The message lit up my screen, and I froze, my breath catching in my throat. I read it over and over, trying to grasp the impossible implications. A wave of panic surged through me, my mind racing, piecing fragments of memories together. What had I been told about the accident? What had everyone else said? My friend had died in a car crash, a freak accident. That's what I had been told. That's what I had believed. But now, this text, this thing pretending to be my friend, was telling me otherwise. My hands shook as I tapped a response. "What do you mean? What really happened?" "You're going to find out." The phone buzzed again, and I jumped. "Dig deeper." I couldn't take it any longer. I grabbed my jacket, threw open the door, and rushed to the cemetery, my pulse pounding in my ears. Something was terribly wrong, and the answers, the truth, were buried with my friend. When I arrived at the grave, the moon hung high above, casting a pale, eerie light over the headstone. The chill of the night air stung my skin, and I felt as if I were being watched. My eyes scanned the familiar place, but it felt wrong, so wrong. There, at the base of the gravestone, was a fresh patch of disturbed earth. I had never noticed it before. My heart raced as I knelt down, the cold ground beneath me now trembling with an unsettling energy. I began digging, frantic, desperate. The earth felt heavy, almost as if it were fighting me, but I pressed on. Then my hand hit something hard, a phone. I pulled it free from the dirt, my breath catching in my throat. It was my friend's phone, the same one I had seen them use 1,000,000 times. I stared at it, disbelieving, as it buzzed to life in my hands. The screen flickered. I told you to listen. I froze, my blood running cold. The phone wasn't just powered on, it was active. It was still receiving messages. The screen lit up with a new notification. I opened it. You should have never come here. The earth shifted beneath me, and I scrambled backward, my heart hammering in my chest. Something was wrong in a way I couldn't explain. The world around me began to blur. The edges of reality seemed to melt away, slipping through my fingers like sand. And then the final message appeared, chilling in its finality. Now it's your turn. The phone fell from my hand as I turned to run, but the ground beneath me seemed to pull me back. The last thing I saw was the glow of my phone, flickering once more before everything went dark.